Okay, this is part 2 of your review for your final exam. We're going to be looking at identifying parts of sentence now. This is different than parts of speech. One word is the same in both lists, the word verb, so sometimes that confuses kids. But when we look at parts of sentence, we're looking to see what job that word is doing in the sentence. So, for example, subjects, two different parts of speech can be a subject, a noun and a pronoun, right? Okay. Verbs obviously can only be, that job is done by verbs. Direct objects could be a noun or a pronoun. Indirect object the same. Predicate nominatives are going to be nouns, or you could have a pronoun predicate nominative. Predicate adjectives, just like it sounds, are adjectives. Objects of prepositions are nouns or pronouns. And nouns of direct address are, as they sound, nouns. Okay. You could actually probably even say pronouns, because you could say, hey, you, come over here. And that would be a noun of direct address. Okay, so let's take a look at number 1. Honey, can you make me some eggs with salsa like you just had? All right. Honey is set off with a comma. It's naming a person in the vicinity, calling their attention. This is a noun of direct address. Okay. It doesn't grammatically fit in really with the rest of the sentence. If you were diagramming this, it would be off to the side on its own line or slightly above. Okay, when you have a question, the best way to identify the parts of sentence, the best way is to rearrange it into a declarative statement. Instead of saying, can you make me, say, you can make me some eggs. And then it's pretty easy to see that you is a subject. You all know that in English it's subject, verb, object. That's a normal order for us. So you is that subject. Can make is the verb. That's not underlined, so you don't really have to label it. Now, look at that verb, can make. You do need to find the verb in order to answer the next question. What are the complements here? So with an action verb, you have the following options. You could have a DO, and I hope you remember now that DOs answer the questions what or whom after the verb. If you have a DO, you could have an IO. It will always be located in between the action verb and the direct object, and it answers the question to or for whom or what. Okay, so let's take a look now. You can make what? What's going to actually be made? Is me going to be made? No, we're not making people. Are eggs going to be made? Yes. That answers the question what after the verb, so it's the DO, the direct object. Now, is there a noun or pronoun in between the action verb and the direct object that answers the question for whom? Yes. Who are the eggs? For whom are the eggs being made? For me. So that's your IO. Okay. Here we have a phrase with salsa. You memorize 60 prepositions. Hopefully you remember with as a preposition, which makes it easy to identify salsa as its object. Moving to number 2. If I had completed my work last night, I would have had time to make my own breakfast this morning. Okay. Here we have 2 clauses. I hope you recognize if as that subordinating conjunction, and here's a comma. So we take one clause at a time, because every clause, whether it's dependent or independent, has its own subject and verb. I had completed. You see the action here, completion, completing something, there's action. So that's an action verb. Now I ask myself, completed what? Had completed what? That's the DO question. What got completed? Work. So that's, oops, it's really hard to write on the iPad tilted like this, so excuse my poor penmanship. Work is your DO. Okay? Moving along to the next clause, I would have had time. I is clearly the subject of this clause. Would have had is your verb. Again, that's an action verb. So you ask yourself, what would have had what time? Time is the DO. Okay. Number 3, you are extremely good at procrastination. Are is underlined. This is a linking verb. You've memorized that list of linking verbs many times. You should recognize are as a linking verb. It can be replaced sometimes, usually with the word equals. So the subject is you, so what are you equal to? Or, what's the description of you? Good. Okay. Sometimes the word good is used as a noun, as in we should study the good, the true, and the beautiful. That would be a noun. But in this case, I believe it's pretty clear that this is more of a describing word. It's modifying you. It's telling what you are like. You are not the good, but you have good characteristics. You are good. So this I would call a predicate adjective. If it said you are a girl, then it would be a predicate nominative. Nominative means noun or naming thing. Here again we have a phrase, at procrastination. At was in that list of prepositions you memorized. This is clearly the object of the preposition. It's a noun. Okay. Let's try to do one more segment before we restart another video. Another thing you need to remember how to do for your test is to identify different phrases. Phrases are groups of words that are closely related to one another, but they do not have a subject and a verb. That would make it a clause, right? So we have 4 types for you to identify. Prepositional, those are going to all start with a preposition. Participial, going to have a participle in them, gerund or infinitive. I think you know what prepositional phrases are. A quick review on participles, gerunds, and infinitives. Those are the 3 verbals. You should have a chart that I had you write somewhere in your notes or in the cover of your book. Participles, they're one job. I can't spell. Participles, one job. They act as adjectives, right? So if you see a verb form, it might end in ing if it's a present participle. It could have a past tense ending, like ed or nt. Any past tense ending, they can be present or past tense, but they act as adjectives. A verb form acting as an adjective is labeled participle. And participles can come with some extra words attached in a participial phrase. Gerunds also have one job. Gerunds are nouns. Verb forms that act as a noun are called gerunds. It's nice because they only have one form. They always end in ing. Infinitives are very versatile. They have 3 possible jobs. They can be nouns, adjectives, or adverbs. Generally speaking, they begin with the word to and then the verb form, like to dance, to dream, to see. Sometimes the word to is omitted. I'm a nice person, so I won't omit that on the test for you. It will say to in it. Okay, let's try a few of these. Number 1, we found a perfect sand dollar on the beach. Okay, here's a word. Hopefully you remember from your list of prepositions you memorized on. If you don't remember that, you can kind of tell because it's modifying. This little phrase is modifying. It's actually telling where. This is an adverbial prepositional phrase. It's telling where on the beach. Prepositional phrases actually can act as adjectives or as adverbs. This one happens to be acting as an adverb. But here you can see the object, a noun object for the preposition. So this is prepositional phrase. Check out the next one. Competing for the prize. Here we're starting with an ing word. Okay, so already you know it's one of 2. It could be a gerund phrase or it could be a participial phrase. So we have to see what's being modified or what's being done in the sentence. So let's take a look at the rest. Competing for the prize made Haley work harder. This is the verb. This whole thing is acting as the subject of the sentence. So of the 3, which one or of the two that can end in ing, participle, participle, or gerund, which one can be a noun? Because subjects are always going to be noun or pronoun. It has to be a gerund phrase. Does that make sense? Gerunds act as nouns. And since this is a noun phrase, it's going to be labeled gerund phrase. In this one, however, it also ends in ing, running swiftly around the track, but here's your subject and here's your verb, and this is just an introductory participial phrase modifying Joel, okay? Because participles are the ones that modify nouns or pronouns. Here we have to be kind is a good goal. Already the to be is a dead giveaway. It's an infinitive phrase, but also it's nice to know this is the subject of the sentence, so it must be a noun, and infinitives, sure enough, can be nouns, so this is an infinitive, phrase. I think I misspoke. Infinitives can be nouns. Yeah, that's what I meant to say. Okay, I'm going to stop this video and we'll do the rest on a third video.